Okay, in this lesson we're going to move forward with operations with fractions. Operations, I mean we're going to learn to add and subtract. In our next lesson we'll look at multiplying and dividing. When you are adding and subtracting fractions, you need to remember that you need to have like denominators. And I think many of you have, recall this from the past. What we're meaning by like denominators is we're basically saying we need to have the same size pieces so that we can group these things. In these first two examples, we've got like pieces, same size denominators. I've got 4/5 plus 3/5. In all, I have a total of 7/5. So at the end of this problem, we need to simplify what we have here. 5 goes into 7 one time with 2/5 left over. Okay, in our next problem we are subtracting, and again we have like denominators. So we're saying we have 7/8 minus 3/8 for an outcome of 4/8. And we could do that because we have the same size pieces. But here again we see that we can reduce, we can simplify by reducing both numerator and denominator by 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. So in each of these cases we were able to come up with our answer, but we had to simplify both of our outcomes. In the first case, we were simplifying from an improper fraction to a mixed number. In the second situation, we were reducing to lowest terms. Both of those are methods of simplifying your answer. Okay, moving forward, we're going to look at an example where we do not have like denominators. So in this first one, we need to identify what our common denominator would be, some number that both 6 and 10 go into. And I can go through the process that we talked about before, but my common denominator would be 30. Both 6 and 10 go into 30. So how many times did I multiply 6 by to get to 30? That would be 5. So 5 times 5 would be 25. This next one, the lower one, we can say 10 times 3 gives us 30, so 7 times 3 would give us 21. So now that we have the same size pieces, or like denominators, we can actually add the numerators. 25/30 plus 21/30 gives us a total of 46/30 in total. Now, looking at this, we can actually do both of our simplification skills. I can look at this and say 30 goes into 46 one time with 16/30 left over, and then I can simplify that again. That would reduce to 1, and they're both even, so that would give us 8/15 when I divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. Next one, we are subtracting here. 7/8 minus 2/5, our common denominator in this case would be 40. Both of these numbers go into 40. So 8 times 5 gives us 40, so 7 times 5 would give us 35. 5 times 8 gives us 40, so 2 times 8 is going to give us 16. And again, we're subtracting here, so when I subtract this, I end up with 19/40, and there is nothing to simplify there. Now, looking back at this one, I could have said 6 times 10 and come up with a denominator of 60 would be just fine, and I could continue to work through it. It just means I'd have larger numbers to reduce when I got to simplifying this. Okay, in our next problem, we're going to add mixed numbers. Really nothing here that I need to do, but I have like denominators, so I can add my numerators. 3 plus 2 would give us 3/5, and then I add my whole numbers out front to get 7 and 3/5. So there's really nothing major going on there. In this next one, we have like denominators, but we have a dilemma. When we start with our fraction component, 2 minus 3 is not going to be possible. And so we're going to have to do a little bit of borrowing here. So we're going to borrow from this whole number, and that would leave us with 2. But that 1 that I'm borrowing, I want to write it as 5/5, because 5/5 is another way of writing 1, but it's just in fraction form. That way I can add it to the fraction of 2/5 to come up with 7/5. Yes, that's an improper fraction, but we're going to use that to take 3 away from 7, which would give us 4/5. And then 2 minus 1 would give us 1. That's a little bit of a tricky concept for many students, so to make sure you're comfortable with that borrowing concept. Okay, down below here we are adding. Again, we do not have like denominators, so we're going to have to write equivalent fractions with common denominators. Our common denominator is going to be 15. We got from 5 to 15 by multiplying by 3, so 4 times 3 would give us 12. We got from 3 to 15 by multiplying by 5, so 2 times 5 is going to give us 10. Okay, so now that we have equivalent ratios and we have common denominators, we can add those numerators, which is going to give us 10 plus 12 would give us 22/15. 4 plus the 5 would give us 9. Now, I'm hoping that you would catch this, that we've got an improper fraction here. So we're going to have to do a little bit of work on that. So 15 goes into 21 one time with 7. Sorry, I should probably write this up here. Make it kind of a summation activity. So with 7/15 left over, and then 1 plus the 9 would give us 10. 10 and 7/15 for that one. Okay, so here we're going, again, we have fractions, mixed numbers that we were subtracting, but we have to get common denominators for our fractions. So our common denominators would be 20. We got from 4 to 20 by multiplying by 5. So 3 times 5 would give us 15. Moving to our upper fraction, we got from 5 to 15 by multiplying by 4, so 2 times 4 would give us 8. Now if we look at this closely, we have to remember that we're subtracting here. It's not possible to take 8 minus 15. So we're going to borrow again. We're going to borrow and make this a 2. That 1 that we're borrowing, we want to write it as 20/20. That's another way to write 1, so that we can add that as a fraction, that 1 is a fraction, to 8/20 to get 28/20. And so we have a fraction large enough that we can say 28 minus 15 would give us 13/20, and then we can carry out our subtraction with our numbers out front, or the whole numbers of our mixed numbers. 2 minus 1 would give us 1.